Hey guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to another episode of RevOps and ABM alignment. Today we have Frank Nardi, a foodie like me. Welcome, Frank, to the show.
Thanks, Romeo. Thanks for having me on. Pleasure to be here.
So, besides being a foodie like me, Frank is also CRO with a bunch of experience in RevOps, as a revenue officer, chief revenue officer at Cin7. So Cin7, it's a big, fast-moving SaaS from the US. It's an inventory management solution. But Frank, maybe you can tell us a bit more about yourself, about Cin7 before we kick off the podcast.
Yeah, sure thing, Romeo. Yeah, we're gonna have to talk more about some of that food, man. I'd love to pick your brain on some favorite spots. But yeah, so I've been with Cin7 for about 4.5 years now. So Cin7, connected inventory performance. We do inventory management, provide inventory management for product sellers all over the world. The company was built out of a New Zealand-based organization, and has now since grown into a global organization with 7 or so locations all over the world, and we've expanded in the US. So we provide inventory solutions for product sellers who are entrepreneurial, up and coming, the product sellers that are looking to grow their business through multiple channels. So if you think about, I'm going to come up with a new type of product. I want to sell that on Amazon. I want to sell it on my Shopify or my big commerce marketplace stores. I want to get that into Whole Foods. I want to get that into Walmart. I want to ship. We help them do that and manage their inventory across all those channels. And then we have over 700 or so integrations, and we integrate wherever they want to be. So if you think about like the challenge of a product seller of getting their products in the right place at the right hands of the right people, avoiding stock outs, avoiding, making sure their inventory is tracked properly. That's what we help do. And it's a really exciting place to be, because when you look at the data, inventory mismanagement and inventory inefficiency is one of the top 4 reasons businesses will go out of business, right? I think a lot of people go to sales and marketing and things like that. And of course, those are super important. But while you're trying to get your sales up, while you're trying to land your marketing message, while you're trying to get that product market fit for your product and find your ideal buyers and all those things that you're doing, if you don't manage your inventory, it puts strain on your capital, it puts strain on your business, and you can make some big mistakes that can be costly. So we help customers scale their business through effective inventory management solutions and modules.
Got it. So, for example, if I have an e-shop and I also have a retail, can I use you guys? Like if I have a physical store, or it's only for e-commerce and digital?
No, a lot of our customers have physical stores. So that's one of the reasons why our platform can be so impactful, because it's customizable with how you want to design your business. If you want to be a straight e-com seller and just use your Shopify, maybe connect to Amazon and ship direct and just be that type of product seller, you can do it. If you want to have a mix of brick and mortar stores, a mix of being in big box stores, you want to sell on Shopify, you want to have different locations, you sell globally, we can help you do all that.
Because I know that what I learned from this industry, that replenishment, it's different, and right, like replenishment is more for retail, right? Like the store managers, that they want to get more products in their stores because, I don't know, the best-selling T-shirt is out of stock in that particular store, versus warehousing. I think it's a bit different. So it's interesting that these kind of solutions are popping up. I know I worked before at DHL in
Okay.
supply chain management and logistics, so I know that they even had this kind of solution, obviously for bigger organization, but this supply chain was so um, so important. It was, as they were saying, like, you know, the best supply chain wins nowadays, not necessarily the best price.
Well, it's in a lot of ways that's true, right? Like when you think about, and we do connect to 3PLs and help folks with their supply chain for sure. I think when you think about designing a product business and you think about where you want to sell and how you want to sell, at the end of the day, we all do this, right? Romeo, you go on, you have your favorite products, you go on Amazon or you go on the website and you go buy them and they say, hey, sorry, out of stock. What do you do next? You're like, well, I need them. I need something like it. So then you end up going to a competitor, right? And so we help our customers with what to replenish, when to replenish, and which products to replenish, right? A lot of our
Mm.
customers have a lot of products that, when you think about a product seller, sometimes we kind of go to like, oh, they have one product. For the most part, they have a lot. What's winning? What's not selling? How is it selling? What price is it selling at? So there's a lot of that we help customers get that information and understand so that they can remove the inventory inefficiency from their business. And if they're doing that, right, if you think about like the cost of, another thing to bring up too is like a lot of these product sellers, it's not like they have rocket level margins here. A lot of them are, some of their products are real tight, right? Um, Especially as we went through the last year and a half with inflation and supply chain challenges and all that kind of stuff, like the margins get tighter. Um, but if we can help our customers manage their inventory in a very efficient way, then they can use that capital that they're not wasting on inefficient inventory, overbuying something or underbuying something, or having to discount because they didn't properly manage it well.
Mm.
They can use that capital. They can put that capital into marketing, right? And put that capital into building more awareness, right? Our product sellers, a lot of these folks are entrepreneurial. They're disruptors. They have that builder mindset. They saw something out in the world and they said, I don't like what's out there. I can make something better. And that entrepreneurial spirit, we want to help tap into. The term we use at Cin7, and I use it all the time, is we don't want people to just buy us. We want them to buy into us, right? So the idea being is
Mm.
like, you could be doing $1 million of sales and just really starting to hit your stride. You're on some spreadsheets, you're starting to, it's starting to break because it's too inefficient. You buy Cin7 and then you could ride us and use the platform and continue to add to it up until $100 million and beyond, right? So it really is a tool that however you want to configure your business and however you want to connect, we can be configurable and connect as you grow. Because, whether we're sales leaders or whether we're product sellers, nobody wants to rip out systems, right? No one wants to change 4 or 5 CRMs over the next, you want to buy something, you want to use it, you want to continue to refine it, you want to get better at it. And I think that's what we provide for our product sellers as well.
So you are chief revenue officer at the company. What does a chief revenue officer do at such organization?
Yeah. What would you say you do here? Right. Like in the office space. Okay, Bob. Yeah, I think, what's interesting is you take on the chief revenue officer role, and I think a lot of folks just go right to sales, right? And they say, oh, sales
Mm.
leader, right? Sales leader, sales leader, sales leader. But really, when you think about it, I have to think about, and I love this about the gig, is every dollar into the business and every dollar out of the business. How do we help customers understand from an awareness, from a market standpoint, from a go-to-market standpoint, what Cin7 can do, why does it do it, and why does it matter for them, right? So from you wake up in the morning, you kind of think about like, how do we get more people interested in knowing what this product can do? Then you have the entire sales process, of course, but the sales process is also not just sales doing sales stuff. It's an entire orchestration of marketing, some product. We have a free trial, right? Our free trial has to be clear and clean. So as people are coming into it, they experience the product in a good way. And then enablement and sales, so that every step of the way, customers understand like, oh, this makes sense. This makes sense. You're talking to me. And then on the other side, once the prospect becomes a customer, then you have the entire, every dollar in, every dollar out. You have the customer success side, which is how do we activate? How do we get product adoption? How do we get people to see value over time, right? there's this idea is like, if you get people to buy your product, that potentially means you have a good marketing and you have good sales, right? Like you can sell and you can market. The renewal is when they confirm that what you sold and marketed to them is what they thought, right? And they still see value at the renewal. So they say, hey, I'm going to buy this again. And that's what I love about SaaS. So the chief revenue officer, I wake up and I think about all that. I think about the entire buyer experience, customer experience. I think about how we get people to know what our products can do. How do we get the right persons to buy those products? And then once they're in, how do we show value over time so that they continually grow with us and see value year in, year out? That's right. Yeah, you're a little choppy there. I'm wondering if we have see. Hope it's
Actually, it was recording, so either way.
oh good.
So we could go back in. So as a CRO, then I was always curious, like today, what is something that it's like top of mind? What is something like that keeps you busy and you're something that you're trying to solve or something that you're striving to find solutions for?
Yeah, it's a great question. So if you think about how I describe the CRO role and kind of what I wake up and thinking about, it's not just the front end of the bow tie. It's not just winning new logo, bringing new customers into the funnel and doing the sales process. It's the entire, life cycle of a customer, from all the way from awareness, how we help go to market, who we sell to, how do we sell to them, how do we show them that we do messaging that resonates, all the way to lifetime value, right? How long have they been a customer? How do they upsell? How do they expand? How do they create and get value out of the tool, year in, year out over time? So one of the things that we're thinking about at Cin7, and I think about as we get into this next stage of revenue operations and just systems thinking, is creating a clear, consistent data layer across that entire journey, right? Like in the past, it's been a little bit segmented. Maybe you have a really tight data and systems layer on the front end to bring folks into the funnel, and then once they close one, is it a little choppy on the back end, right? How do we think about unified systems and data layer across all of our tooling? And then what is really exciting me right now is being able to create like a journey layer on top of that, right? So if we can get a tight systems layer, all our systems are not just talking to each other, but they're elevating each other, right? Like, it's always like, hey, does your systems, do they integrate? And I think that's like table stakes. What I'm looking for our systems to do is elevate the next system in line, right? A good example of that is, we always talk about the challenge of handoffs between teams and handoffs between systems. When we win a new customer, right? Okay, great. We integrate with the onboarding platform, but we have the opportunity now with how systems are talking to each other, with AI, with all the recordings and tooling and summaries that we can build. We can actually build a handoff process that's automated that actually gives the onboarding team and the onboarding system way more information in a concise manner that helps them elevate the story for the customer. So the customer just continues to build over that process, as opposed to these drop-off points because the systems and the data and the buyer journey aren't talking to each other. So we're looking at all that, and we're looking at these moments that matter across the funnel, and how can we help influence those to either provide better enablement, better experience, improved communications, improved handoff points. So if I'm a buyer of Cin7, this feels great to me. It feels like a process that I'm moving through. There's no drop-off points, even at my renewal or my QBR or my communication with customer success. They have all the data that is from the original sales process. So they know the pain points, they know the struggles. The customer feels like they know me and they know what I'm talking about. But that comes from really foundational system stuff.
So I think companies realize that they need to change this silo type of running the go-to markets and running customer journeys. And that's how roles like chief revenue officers started to be more popular, right? Because
Yeah.
now with the role, you have that one KPI, or that silo departments that everybody is, trying to achieve their own KPIs rather than a unified KPI. So now that's, let's say, solved, or it's more, it's easier to hire someone who does this whole unification, but the system and the data, how they talk to each other, I think that's something that like leaders like you they try to solve. So hence, um, tools like HubSpot or Salesforce that have that ecosystem, that build that ecosystem, they are so popular versus the siloed tools also, right? Because you have the sales love that does the outreach, you have Zendesk that they do ticketing system, then you have maybe Pardot, or you have Marketo for marketing automation, then you have Power BI or Tableau with the whole dashboarding and visualization. So everything is quite siloed. Each team, they use their own system. And what you're saying is that, okay, how can we make an ecosystem where all these data layers talk to each other, because we have the technology, right?
Yeah.
So,
And 100%. And I think that starts with the integrated data layer, right? And then, like I said, like everything has to talk to each other, so integrations become, table stakes. But then on top of that, we have to decide, and we call it here a language layer, right? We have to all decide what an MQL is, what an SQL is, what a
mm,
hand raiser is, what is not. Um, we know those things. Like we've been doing a lot of those things. If you think about the front end of the funnel and the bow tie, like we've done that for years. Like, but it's still an ongoing thing as businesses change. Is a free trial form and a fill out considered an MQL? And when is it? Well, that piece of it is actually a collaboration with product, and product has systems that's monitoring who's using what within the free trial and what is their activation within the free trial. Okay, great. So there's behavioral scoring and all that kind of stuff that happens. But if product has a different understanding of what a good behavior is in the trial, then marketing and sales, it breaks, right? So a good example we use all the time is think of another handoff point when onboarding to customer success, right?
mm,
What is a live customer and when are they live?
mm.
It's like everyone wants this to be a moment in time, like boom, live customer. We all know that's not true. We've tried to make it true, but just like when you graduate high school or college, like yeah, you graduated, but there's different levels, right? Maybe there's A, B, C's, and D students, right? And not that the C's and D students are bad, right? Maybe it's not the greatest example of but like if the CS team gets 10 live customers this month and
Mm,
5 of them are A's, and we understand, okay, this is live and they're graded A's, they can handle them differently. They go, okay, they need a different set of enablement. They're really activated. They got it. It was a smooth process. Great.
mm-hmm,
But then
mm-hmm,
maybe someone was coming through and they're more like a C, and they struggled through the onboarding. They didn't activate as much as others. They're not as, maybe we don't feel they're as confident in the platform for whatever reason. So then the CS team goes, okay, I have 5 C's here. I want to go handle them better. Maybe I want to get them more professional services. Maybe I want to get them more enablement. Maybe I want to make sure one-on-one outreach is going to go. But like, if you don't have that level of systems and data handoff, right? That's in some ways like the tooling we have right now can automate a lot of these things. What happens is you just have this moment that's live customer, and then it goes into this inefficient little kind of black box, And then the CS team goes, hey, you sent me over a bunch of customers, but some of these people haven't really fully activated, right? Like they're only using 5 of their 10 licenses or what have you. So there's a lot that I think can be done, particularly on that side of the funnel, to create the same rigor on the front end of the funnel that we have and create this this smoother handoff process between teams, because that's where the inefficiency is now. Like we just went through a profitable, efficient growth transformation. A lot of SaaS teams got more efficient. We found efficiency in silos, right? To your point, like sales found their efficiency, marketing, demand gen efficiency in marketing was a big thing the last year. Okay, great. But how do we find the efficiencies between teams, and how do we start thinking about making sure a new customer who just signed up this month, the handoff between that customer and onboarding is as smooth and as clean as possible. And what's exciting is the tools are out there to go do it.
So I'm wondering who drives these discussions, like, or who should drive in the discussion, because I'm sure there are a lot of people having the same problem. At least, the MQL issue, I hear it like since forever. Like,
Yeah.
what is an MQL? And it's like, for God's sake, we talked so much about this topic, but still we have the same. Is it a hand raiser? Is it based on lead scoring? Is it like, but what if they filled in the contact form? But what if they came from an ebook and then they engaged? And so who is the MQL, right? And then who is the SQL? Is it based on, outreach? What if somebody does outreach and they have targeted accounts, right? I have targeted accounts. I already prospected those accounts. I know who they are. I qualified them through my ICP. They are ICP fit, so they should be SQL, right? Because they are sales qualified leads, as the name suggests. So there's a lot of confusion, right? So who is driving these discussions, or how one should fix this, this basic thing, and then we can go a little bit to the activation and who is the activated account or customer.
Yeah, and it's true, and when you bring that up, it brings me back to the first question. Is like, what do you think about as a CRO? And the other part of the CRO job is my job as a C-level leader in the business is to not work in silos, is to break the silos. And so there's a lot of collaboration that needs to happen for us to grow this business, and for us to make sure the customer has a great experience with Cin7 and with any company, right? And so the idea being is like, I have to make sure that I'm collaborating with marketing and product and the leaders in sales and the leaders in dev and the leaders in support and CS, right? Like it all has to be a collaboration. And so when we think about like who's responsible for that, it's really about, we do a lot with metrics, and we do a lot with these key moments. We call them the moments that matter in the business, right? And so a lot of these moments could be within a department completely, right? And a lot of these moments could be handoff moments or passover moments or moments that we share, right? So a good example is like maybe the total number of MQLs is really a marketing metric, but the MQL to SQL, right? How many ops we create from those leads, that is a shared metric with sales. And then sales takes it from an SQL to win, right? And so that's more of a sales side metric, right? So there's always going to be these teams that kind of work together. But so say who runs it or who is responsible. I think in a lot of ways, there are folks on the team with our RevOps and such like that kind of like do the tactical responsibility of those things, making sure that we know those metrics in those moments, and that's the data and systems, right? And the buyer journey experience layer. But then we have to all have a collaborative, agreed upon, what we think an MQL is in this business, and an SQL in this business. And the other piece I'll say to that is we all want it to be one thing, right? We want it to be one thing and one thing forever, but it's not, right? An MQL 2.5 years ago in a growth at all cost mindset was could be different in your business than an MQL today. And you have to be maybe more sophisticated and nuanced with how you think about the MQLs, because one of the things that we are seeing in the market is, in the growth at all cost mindset, a lot of companies, including our customers, weren't so focused on efficiency, right? We're all focused on efficiency now, but we weren't then. And so what happens is like, I'm going to raise my hand and I'm going to go buy this product, and we can say, yeah, that's an MQL and that's an SQL, and we go rock and roll, pretty simple. But now with a latent buyer mindset, right? With a little bit more like, hey, I'm kind of interested, but I need to see efficiency. I'm not sure if I want to buy this product yet. They're less active. Maybe the MQL to SQL handoff, just because they filled out a demo request form, has to be a little nuanced. Like, maybe an opportunity has to be, one of the things we see right now, and I'm really focused on, is how we discover, right? How you run discovery with an active buyer versus how you run discovery with a latent buyer set is different, right? Because in the growth at all cost mindset, like, you could probably just focus on your active buyers and make your number, right? You get so many leads in, you're like, I'm just going to focus on the real hot active ones. Go, right? I could probably make my number as a sales rep. But if I've got now, which maybe is a little more 50-50, I've got to make sure I'm discovering that latent buyer and I'm creating a journey path for them that's different than the active. And so, yeah, they're both opportunities. They're both SQLs. You can't see my quotes out there. They're out there. Here you go. Quotes SQLs, right? But it's a different type of SQL. Right? This SQL is going to be a 60-day sales cycle, and the active buyer is going to be a 30-day sales cycle. So how do I run paths for that?
Yeah, makes sense. Can you give us a bit, like, just to map a bit the customer journey that you guys had before the growth at all cost? When the growth at all cost was happening, and how is it now?
So inventory management, inventory solutions, always needed with product sellers. But as COVID happened, and a lot of product sellers were doing maybe offline spreadsheet type stuff, or they were running just brick and mortar stores, the pressure on those product sellers to move to more online channels and sell online was obviously growing, right? Like, you weren't going to be able to be a product seller through COVID and post-COVID with just brick and mortar stores. So the need to move online, the need to move into more channels, the need to be more resilient would be the word I would use. In like, you can't just rely on your brick and mortar stores. You have to rely on other channels, right? So we fit in very well there. And a lot of product sellers were like, hey, I got to move fast. I got to move quick. I am an active buyer. I need to come on. So we were very much in the mode of get them on the call, show them the product. They knew what they were looking for. They were super active. Capture demand, rock and roll, demand forward environment, right? Just go.
So what was an MQL back then?
MQL was anybody that filled out a demo request, right?
Okay.
They fill out a demo request and they would get on the call in 2 days. And at Cin7, we have a 30-day sales cycle. We call it, it's a fast twitch SaaS motion. So we get so many MQLs a month. They book, they get on there, they do the book a meeting with the sales rep. Sales reps gets on a call. We do 1 or 2 demos and they go, right? And so we knew what an SQL was, because the minute they do the demo and then, this person's going to buy, we create the opportunity, we move them through the cycle and we go. And we were showing, really quick value for the product, because they knew, the customer knew what they were looking for, and they knew how to make, because the challenge was moving online and the challenge was moving to more channels. So it's a very easy process to move through quickly. Now, in a more efficient mindset, and we all see this, right? Buyers are a little more cautious. Everyone's trying to find efficiency. And so what happens is those 2 demos or 1.5 demos would turn into 5, right? Because they're not just looking to move online or move into channels so they can sell at Whole Foods or Walmart. They're looking to find efficiency in their business. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times that's not a surface layer problem. That is an underlying layer problem. That is the need
Mm.
behind the need behind the need, right? And so when you're doing discovery in a growth at all costs and growth at all cost mindset world where people are like, do you connect with this? Do you connect with that? Can I see my inventory
Yeah.
here and there?
Uh-huh.
And I'm
Mm-hmm.
probably oversimplifying that. But you know,
But
there
yeah,
was a
it's
lot of pushback,
mainly
but you
technology,
get it,
right?
right?
Like, yeah,
Totally.
features.
But
Yeah.
now it's more like, okay, I'm doing this now. I have my channels, but how do I get more efficient at them? How do I get a little bit more?
Mm.
Um, how do I, I've got tight margins as a product seller. How do I shave off a few percentage points here and there? And so our reps and our team and our marketing and our enablement all has to find that need behind the need. We have to motivate the latent buyer as much as we're motivating the active buyer. And so when we create an
So
SQL now, um,
you were
go ahead.
using Matpic, or what methodology were you using in, you know, COVID time versus what you use now? Did you change that discovery methodology also?
We've always been a BANT shop because
Mm-hmm.
it's an
Mm-hmm.
SMB to mid market buyer, right? It's not an
Mm-hmm.
enterprise buyer. It's
Pretty
more pretty
fast, yeah.
much,
Mm.
do they
Yeah.
have the budget? Do they have? Are we talking to the person who can make the decision in authority? What's your need and what's your timing? So
Mm-hmm.
we continue to use that. We're looking potentially to shift away from that a little bit, but it's worked really well for us because it is an SMB market, right? And we are a lot of times talking to founders and C-level folks that are just 5 to 10 people at the company, and so you're talking to the people who are not only going to make the decision, they're also the economic buyer, they're the founder. There's a lot of combination there. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
but
I'm
it
curious. I'm curious because you mentioned that now you have 5 demos, let's say. But do they bring more stakeholders to these demos? Like the amount of the buying committee, did the buying committee change also?
No, not as much. I think the buying committee has been similar. We may see a little bit more CFO, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We all kind of see that, right? A little bit more like financial sign off than we did before. Um, a little bit before it was like, hey, we're going to go with this and rock and roll and see if it works out. You know what I mean? And a lot of customers find it when they go through that process, they love the product and they stay on and it's great, right? But now they're a
Mm-hmm.
little little bit more cautious, and they're trying to understand that how will this create efficiency in my business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the solve that we're getting to is that need behind the need that is
Mm-hmm.
not just showing, hey, we have a warehouse management module, right? It's how does the warehouse management module make you more efficient as a business, right? And so, in a lot of ways, we've become better at selling our products. We've become better at the positioning because
Mm-hmm.
the customers need us to, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
an aspect to the market.
So the MQL changed somehow, or did you add some different definitions now to the MQL, or it's still whoever fills in the contact us form or asks for a demo?
We haven't we have changed it a little bit, but I would say more because we have different call to actions, CTAs on our
Mm-hmm.
website. We have a free trial process on our website, and we also have a
Mm-hmm.
demo request process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the one that I would say, and it's probably the MQL and the SQL as well. It's more of the latent versus active, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
have someone that comes in through an MQL and their demo request, and then they book a meeting with, we use a tool called Revenue Hero that helps us, pick time on
Mm-hmm.
the calendars, book a meeting and route through the right rep.
Mm-hmm.
They book that time, they show up on that time. We're like, okay, this is an active buyer. We're going through the discovery process. We're going to bring them through the funnel and show them the product and
Mm-hmm.
do our process there. But then we also have folks that'll get into the trial, they'll play around with the trial, they'll play around for a couple days, then they'll drop out. Or
Mm.
they'll sign up for the demo request and then they'll no show the meeting, right? Like in an SMB to
Okay.
mid market world, no shows, ghosting is always going to be a challenge, right?
Yeah.
And so we can't we can't treat those buyers the same way that we treat the active ones,
Makes
right?
sense.
If you think about, if you're an active buyer, you're really comfortable with getting
Mm-hmm.
the type of active, okay, next steps, go, go, go kind of stuff. If you do that to a latent buyer, a lot of times you'll kick them out of your own funnel, right? You're hitting them with so much content, like get on a demo, get on a demo. Like it
Yeah,
actually
yeah, yeah.
deters them. They want time to use the trial. They want time to understand the product. They're maybe doing a lot of research, right? So they're looking for ways to understand what we do and how we're going to help them more. So that's our role, right? That's our job. And that buyer journey experience stuff that I was talking about is like, if I treat every customer the same, then they're going to feel like you're not listening to me.
Yeah.
You're not hearing me. And that's probably the worst thing we can do.
So when you said that you can do these onboarding, you do the trial, and then you have some kind of scoring, right? Like you were telling about the A buyer, the B buyer, the C buyer, right? So this is, you give some kind of scoring during the onboarding, right? This is what you mean.
Yeah, I think there is opportunity to do all those things. If we think about like health
Mm,
scoring with customers,
mm,
right? We do that now within systems, but a lot of those could be formulas that are based on activation, right? A lot of those could be formulas that are based on how many users folks are using. Like, I mean, I've done health scoring at several different SaaS products, and that's all
mm-hmm,
kind of the same kind of model. But one of the things that we think about is at Cin7 is this idea of everboarding, where
mm-hmm,
how do if a customer joins us and they're doing $1 million of sales, that's one type of configuration that they'll have for their business. Well,
mm,
let's say their product takes off, and we have so many stories about customers whose product just took off 2-3 years in. Now they're doing 25, $50 million of
mm,
sales, right? Maybe $100 million. Their product and their systems and their configurations are going to change. And so we have to be able to empower them as they grow that business to be
mm-hmm,
good partners, right? And so we focus on like, yeah, what you learned to onboard in the original experience was great, got you going, right? But how do we provide ongoing education and enablement so that as you cross these milestones as a growing business, we're there for you to, whether it's through our internal stuff that we're putting together for you, or it's through partners that have helped customers and things like that. And so the way that we think about it is like, you kind of have to meet kind of have to know where the customers are with like that A, B, C, D, and then meet them
mm-hmm,
where they are, and then take them along for
mm-hmm,
that journey if we're going to be good partners to them, right? So if a customer comes out of onboarding and they're like, hey, I've done this before. I'm really, really confident in inventory management. They've got some experience on their team or what have you. They're like, yeah,
mm-hmm.
I'm good. I'm good to go. I know what I'm there. But then this could be a first time someone's setting up an inventory solution, and the first time that they're trying to connect their systems to a third party fulfillment or to Whole
Mm,
Foods or what have you. They may need some more assistance there, and our team's like, okay, great. Well, we have thousands of customers that have done this before, so we can go help you do that. And here's how you would look at that. And here's how you'd see that. So this idea that kind of to my point earlier, is like this idea that you go live and then you're live and then you're good to go, and that's everyone's live and everyone's graduating the same
mm-hmm.
way. There's such an opportunity to look at that and say, no, there's a live at the point where you were in a business, and there's also like, how do we enable you when you hit these milestones of growth?
So you would have different teams in the customer success depending on which buyer we have after onboarding. So I don't know. Buyer, it's someone who is educated, engaged, so they don't need that much help. But a C1, it's maybe a little bit more difficult, so we need more enablement. Hence, that actually will take over, will be in customer success, will have different competencies. Or I'm just trying to understand if it's more like here are the direction, or this is the playbook for these type of buyers, or it's also playbook plus team?
Maybe the best way to describe this is if you think about everything we have on the front end of the bow tie, right? What do we have? We have SDRs and BDRs, right? We have AEs that are trained on the product. They know what the product does. They can demo the product. They understand, and this is just not at Cin7. This is just in any software company, right? You kind of have sales. But we also have subject matter experts in our SEs, right?
Yeah.
And those are the folks that come in and they just know everything, right?
Like sales engineers.
They're the ones that are they're coming in and they know the whole story. Take that entire experience and flip it, right? So what do we do on the front end? We say, hey, we've got a buyer that pretty confident, they know what they're doing, they're asking all the right questions. They're okay, maybe the AE just works with them. We don't need to bring in a sales engineer. Maybe it's a simple workflow. They can sign on and they can go, and right. But then we have other opportunities that come in and other customers that come in that are more complex, right? They have multiple channels, they have multiple Shopifys, they have multiple 3PLs. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, this is actually a pretty complex configuration. The platform can do it, but we want to get our sales
3PLs. What is 3PLs?
Yeah, third-party logistics.
Third-party logistics.
Warehouses. Yeah. So the SE comes in and says, okay, yeah, you can do this. This integration works this way. This is how you connect to your accounting systems, and this is how you pass, right? That's what we do. And we do that for all that, right? If you think about it on the flip side, right? We have customers that come out of onboarding and they say, or, come through the process on the flip side and they say, yeah, I'm super confident, I'm good. I've got a simple configuration, ready to go, rock and roll, right? And the CSM's super talented. They know the platform. They know all of our customers. They know all the case studies. They know all the use cases. They understand how the product fits and how the customers grow with it. So they can, say, okay, great, I can take you and pass you on. But then we have other customers that come out that are super configurable, super, maybe have some customized fields, maybe have some customized workflows. And so when you think about what we can do and the opportunity for what we can do on the other side of the bow tie, is we can apply those subject matter expertise same way. Like, why do our sales engineers just really focus on pre-sales? Like, how do we add more post-sales, right? It's kind of rhetorical, but that's kind of how we think about it. So, and that's also like when we think about the people and the talent that we bring in there, that's also an everboarding process. Like our sales enablement team, works on both sides of the bow tie, right? To help educate folks, because it really is a value creation process on both sides. And if we're focused on that, if we're focused on that value creation story, then it's about meeting the customers where they are, how competent and confident they are in the platform. How do we educate them and help them understand it? Because they just bought this tool, they want to use it. So how do we help them do that? And sometimes that is an orchestration, and most of the times it's an orchestration between going through the onboarding process, understanding where they are at the end of that onboarding process, and then being able to have that handoff be really, really smooth to the CS team to be like, hey, actually, we can help this customer get a little bit more adoption over the next 3 to 6 months. We can help them with this custom configuration over the next 6 months. And we may need to bring a post-sales engineer in to help, guide through. So then the other thing that happens.
So the post-sales.
The other thing.
Sorry, the post-sales would be the AE, or is the. Sorry, I will rephrase that. So we have the client, they start to adopt the tool, customer success is taking care of them, and there is a not resell, but upsell opportunity, right? So would that whole opportunity, that expand opportunity, be done by the customer success or by the AE?
We have an account management team that will handle the growth and the value there. So that's how we handle that one.
And you were mentioning before we end, I really want to talk about the moments that matter. I really like that. So just tell us a bit, these are positive and negative moments, or only positive?
I mean, they can be, negative too,
Mm.
right?
Can you
It's
give
just
us
how
some
you respond to the
examples to what
yeah.
is a
So how do you
negative and
respond to it,
positive?
right?
Yeah.
So I'll give you two: one on the front end of the bow tie, one on the back. So on the front of the bow tie, let's say a positive would be like, hey, we have a highly engaged person. They come into the MQL. They booked a demo with us. We now had an opportunity. That opportunity is moving along. We consider that all positive. One of the
Mm-hmm.
things that we're always, in the SMB and mid market um, working to improve is our ghosting rate, right? And so
Mm.
that would be considered a negative metric,
Mm-hmm.
would say like it,
Got it.
yeah. So if our ghosting rate is going up, right, we have to think about like what are we doing or not doing that's creating a ghosting rate up, right? And that comes to is like, are we getting to leads fast enough? Are we being are we discovering the right way? Is there enough capacity so that the reps are getting to that demo faster, right? If and on the flip side, if that's going down, right, then the messaging and the content that we're providing between the demo form and the demo time, right? So from the time they fill out the form to the time of demo, like, are we providing them good content? They go, oh man, I see the value. I'm going to show up
Mm.
tomorrow, right? And a lot of times, like, our buyers, it's not that they're ghosting us because they're like not interested. They're ghosting us because they get super busy,
Yeah.
right? They're founders. They're businesses that hey, we had something go haywire today. We're not going to make the demo, right? So then, how do we respond to that moment to make sure we get them back into the funnel and get them back because we know this product can provide
I
value to them? So
I
that's
I
one of the
love that.
things.
I love that you're looking at the ghosting rate, but I suppose, and correct me if I'm wrong, that in the growth at all cost era, you didn't look at ghosting rate, or were you?
Um, we we didn't. It's a good point. We didn't look at ghosting rate that hard because it wasn't a metric that was as
Painful.
um, painful, right? Because in that mindset, people were more
Yeah, yeah,
active,
yeah,
so they were less likely to ghost. So, but then as the ghosting rate actually gives us an understanding of how the market's shifting,
yeah,
right? Like,
exactly.
because you start getting more ghosting, okay, so now you're kind of combating that thing. Um, Another example on the customer success side, right, on the other side of the bow tie, right? We all have different metrics for things like support tickets,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, obviously we don't want customers to submit a bunch of support tickets
Yeah.
or have issues, but it's how you respond to those, right? And how fast and how accurately you can respond to those, and the orchestration of responding to those. Is the customer in onboarding when they get their ticket? Are they out of onboarding and in their CS experience, right? And so um, it's how you respond to the ticket and then how you respond to the awareness of what that is to say, yeah, it's obviously not great that a customer has a ticket, but it's also how we respond to that, right? And if you can respond well, some of the best customer relationships I've ever built are, if almost any company I've had, is if we're in a situation where there's a bug, and if you respond to that exceptionally well with a cohesive response, like, we know what the problem is, we know what's going on, you can turn that frown upside down, and those customers end up like sticking and loving
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
forever, right? Because you've shown them that you care, and I think that's super important. And I think that goes back to the other thing about like treating a latent buyer versus an active buyer. If you're just pounding everybody with the same type of messaging, it doesn't show you care. You're not
Yeah,
meeting
yeah,
them where
yeah.
they are, right? But if you can curtail, nuance your messaging and nuance your approach and show them that you care, I think it goes a long, long way.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it's what ABM was telling us for years. I know that in a mid market, it's not necessarily like the top GTM because it's kind of costly. But one of the elements of ABM is this personalization in the buying journey, right? So what we see also now is that even though we have mid market, yeah, maybe we don't target and we don't advertise for ABM, but the customer journey and the customer experience needs to be like in an ABM program. So maybe you do a demand gen, you do more like a one to many type of a strategy. But when you go into a buying journey, you do a one to one, because every single customer matters. And this is where the alignment is so nice, and how it fits, because one, we have RevOps when you look at all these data layers, and then we have ABM, which teaches us about the personalization, about the experience of each and
Yeah.
every buying journey. So this misconception that ABM is only top of the funnel is like, no, it's it's much more. ABM, it's much more when the lead, it's in the buying journey, and when the actual customer, you have the customer experience. Yeah, that's when we even have more ABM elements involved, especially now, when people want more stickiness, they want to expand their accounts and so on. So what's your experience in terms of ABM? Do you guys run ABM, or how you look at ABM at the Cin7?
I think you hit the nail on the head there. So from a go-to-market motion, right, ABM really isn't something that we do.
Yeah,
But that doesn't mean we don't take aspects of ABM and put it into our motion, right? I think that's one of the things that I think about all the time is like there's a PLG motion, and maybe we're not full PLG, or some folks are full PLG and they don't do ABM or what have you. But there are aspects to each motion,
yeah,
sales led, PLG, hybrid, ABM, all those kinds of things that you can take regardless of motion and take the best parts and
correct.
leverage, right? So, and the really cool part about that is 5 years ago, a lot of the tech maybe wasn't there to go do it,
Yeah,
right? But nowadays, with AI and with some of the other things that are out there, there's no excuse for not being more
exactly.
personalized. There's no excuse for taking some of the ABM things and moving them into. We have the opportunity to go do all those things, and then on the PLG side, there's an opportunity to make the product experience simpler,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even if you have some of the things we always talk about is like some of the best product experiences when folks, and I think about it as customer, when folks take complicated tooling and they can explain it and show it in UI and UX is simply, and it's like, okay, I understand what's happening here, and I've got a more simple experience, and I can get into this and I can start using it, and I don't need to overcomplicate things, and I can learn as I grow. That's some PLG stuff right there, but that doesn't mean it can't be. You can take some of those
Correct.
things into your sales led, into your enterprise and ABM. So to me, as we get into this next phase of SaaS, and we think about these GTM motions, there is a great opportunity, to your point, Romeo, of taking the best of what makes ABM good, taking what the best of PLG good, taking the best of what's sales led good, and then applying that to your motion in a unique way. We use the term at Cin7 is like, what is our physics, right? And every business has a unique physics to how they go to market. And the opportunity to take a little bit of everything and put it together and create your own model is out there, and I think we have to, right? I think one of the things that's over. I'm a sales leader. I have a process. I come into a business and it's a cookie cutter
Yeah,
process, and I slap it down on this business and I run, right? And that's the CS side too, right? Like there's a lot of folks talking about scaled CS. Scaled CS is going to be different, and the physics are going to be different based on your customer base, based on how your customers respond, based on who they are, where they are, what is their what is their growth path, right? And how are they growing as businesses? There's so much to this and that's the stuff that excites me because um, it's always iterating and changing.
Yeah, I think we are going into a era where, you know, the Six Sigma or manufacturing companies, where you have some standards, you have some benchmarks because you have the data, and this is what manufacturing companies always had, um, which is great. You have some blueprints, but then you have these Six Sigma experts that go into the companies, they map and they audit the processes, right? And then they change it. You don't go, even if you have, let's say, the same automotive companies, you don't go from a Ford process and you do the same process to a Mitsubishi or to a Fiat or to whatever, Opel.
Right.
It's just different, right? But yeah, Six Sigma is there. It's the same process. You have similar blueprints, benchmarks, so on. But then the aspects change, right? And we need to go into that era where we have subject matter experts and that really understand the customer journey. They understand the personas really, really well. All the GTMs possible, so you don't come up with, okay, you worked for a uh, I don't know, a landing page creator, and you just implement the same to a accounting software, right? Because both of them are PLG, but yeah, let's just, so that will not work, I think. And it's all about learning about the customer, learning about the process, and just making it, it's not rocket science at the end of the day, but let's just don't try to make shortcuts. That's all, because all these copy pasting is just shortcuts at the end of the day. And because we have AI, then it's much easier now.
It's a great point on the shortcuts, and the shortcuts are, um, I think, tied to the fact that humans are like, we're really good at pattern recognition,
Yeah.
right? You know, we get spam calls, we get emails, we all have our inboxes, and we know what they look like, right? And we also know, when we get into buying processes, when we're buying our softwares or when we're buying anything, we're buying our products, like, we know what good customer experience looks like, right? Um, and so the challenge with AI is if we just do it in a very cookie cutter way, then it's just going to create the same problem that's always been there. People are going to recognize the patterns and they're going to start to see it, and it's going to fall over. But I think our opportunity is to leverage AI to make us more efficient with how we approach the things that we want to go personalize, with how we approach the customer experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think um, that is the opportunity there, or how we enable, right? That's another thing that we're looking at AI at Cin7 is like, um, when we have new sales reps come on board, right? We want those sales reps to provide, you know, they could be in their first year. We want them to be able to provide as much subject matter expertise to
Mm-hmm.
customers as a rep that's been here 3 years, right? But in a standard world, it's just not possible. Like, it's like, how do you enable, experience counts, right? So, but how do we use AI tooling to bring up answers to reps faster, right? So if we can cut down on the customer needing another demo just to answer a few questions, if we can follow up quickly, right? Hey, you had 3 or 4 questions on a call. Here's what those answers are within a 5 minutes after the call, because we're using that to help sales enablement. I think there's a great opportunity there, because, again, the other thing that we have to look at is, like, it's not just, more demos and more, uh, longer sales cycles is not just an internal problem for sales leaders. It's actually, you know challenge for customers too, right? You've got busy founders, you got folks that are trying to run their business. Their job isn't to wake up and go buy software every day and take 10 demos to go do it, right? So it's our job to make it easier, simpler, more understandable for them to choose the right product. And obviously we're hoping that's Cin7, but if it's not Cin7, we want them to know that quickly, right? We don't want them
Mm-hmm.
to take 5 demos, because they've got to get back to what they're doing, which is trying to grow their product business. So I think it goes back to that caring thing, right? Like, we don't want to spam our customers. We don't want to use AI to spam our customers. We want to use AI to empower our team, to empower our customers to understand our products faster, to empower them to onboard it back faster, and have our subject matter expertise show quicker.
Great. Love it. Love it, Frank. Thanks a lot for the time. Just tell us where's the best, what's the best way to connect with you, and what's the latest book or any kind of learning resource that you recommend to the folks out there?
So two things. Anybody can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always open to chat and have a conversation. I've learned so much from podcasts and guests and folks that have come on your show, Romeo, and saw from learning from them. But then also, I just got the revenue architecture from the Winning by Design team, and that book is just fantastic. So I am continually am working through that one, and continually bring a lot of those frameworks to how we think about the next phase of growth at Cin7, and how we can put our people in positions to win, and how we create a better experience, continually better experience for our customers to choose us and grow with us.
Yeah, I think Jaco and his team as Winning by Design, they do some great job. And I also recommend their books because they have a bunch of other books. But Revenue Architecture, I think that's my next on the list. I didn't read it yet. I did a course that they do, but didn't read the book. So I will try to get that book. So thanks a lot, Frank.
The book's really good, man. It's a thick one. It's a pretty good one. So those guys did a great job on it.
Yeah, I suppose. And actually, talking about this, for the listeners, we do an event with the guys at Winning by Design on 10 of October. So in Krakow, actually in Poland, we will do an event with them. So if anyone listening is around, feel invited. It's a free event. We didn't launch the landing page yet because we are on 18th of July today, but we will launch it, and you can come and talk with the guys from Winning by Design and just geek out about the revenue architecture. So thanks a lot, Frank. Thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in, and see you at the next one. Take care.
Thanks so much.